Someone you know earns exactly what you earn. Same salary, maybe the same building. And in 5 years, one of you will be rich, the other will be exactly where you're standing right now. That's not a riddle. It's a measurable fork. It turns on one variable, and I'm going to name that variable with the math on a napkin at almost exactly the halfway mark of this video. Here's the setting. 4th floor, brick building, Columbus, Ohio. 2 doors, 11 feet apart. 4A and 4B. Same floor plan, mirrored. The 2 men behind them work at the same logistics company, 3 desks apart, at $70,000 a year, to the dollar, because they were hired the same month and they've compared. And if I walked you down that hallway today and let you look through both doors, you could not tell me which man is 5 years from rich. By the end, you'll be able to tell from across the street. The line splitting them isn't salary. We've held it constant on purpose. It isn't rent, luck, crypto, or an inheritance. It's one specific teachable variable, invisible from the hallway, invisible on payday, invisible for years. And the entire machine of modern marketing is built on you never noticing it. My name is William, and here's the part that should bother you. There is an industry aimed at exactly one of those 2 doors, the you've earned it industry. It has a mechanism with a name, payday timed marketing, and it works precisely because of a documented pattern economists call lifestyle inflation, spending that rises automatically to meet income, usually within a single quarter of any raise. The upgrade ads know your review cycle. The dealership knows what someone at your level drives. The algorithm shows you better apartments the same week your paycheck ticks up. None of that is coincidence. It's a business model. And one of the men on the 4th floor does exactly what it expects. The other does something so quiet the machine can't see him at all. So what splits them? Not frugality. Both order the same takeout. Not intelligence. Same job, same reviews. Not a budget app. Neither has opened one since 2023. Hold the question. And before the math, the feeling, because the feeling is not your fault. If you've ever gotten a raise and watched it vanished, no memory of a single purchase, just a life that somehow costs your new salary within 90 days, that's not weakness, that's the resize, and psychologists have a second name for the engine underneath it, hedonic adaptation. The upgrade becomes the baseline within weeks, and the joy evaporates while the cost stays. You can watch it in your own records tonight, and I genuinely do this. Pull your last raise letter, then pull your bank statement from 90 days later. Find the raise. Most people can't, and seeing that with your own documents will teach you more than any lecture. You were handed one script for what a raise is for by a machine with a financial interest in the script. This video is the other script. The timing matters because 2026 is a strange year for paychecks. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has average annual raises running near 4%, the healthiest stretch in years. And yet, the Federal Reserve's household surveys keep showing median net worth crawling for anyone under 50. Raises up, wealth flat. So where's the leak? Here's its shape in 2 numbers. Experian puts the average new car payment north of $700 a month in 2026, and the average credit card is charging around 21%. The raises are arriving. They're being pre-sold. While we're here, one more thing worth doing this week. Open your HR portal and pull your actual raise history, the real percentages, the real dates. You'll need those numbers in about 8 minutes, and most people have never once looked. Back to the 4th floor. In 4A, Trent, 31, operations coordinator, funny in meetings, generous at birthdays. In 4B, Eli, same age, same title, quieter, keeps a dying plant alive out of stubbornness. 5 years ago, these men were financially identical. Same 70, same $1,200 in checking at month end if the month behaved, same nothing invested. Paste one column twice. That was the spreadsheet.
Now, year 1 in slow motion because the split happens here and neither man would call it a decision. March raises 4%, $2,800 gross, about $160 a month actually landing. Trent's went where 160 goes, the streaming tier with the games, the slightly better cart, extra ride shares in winter. Ask him where the raise went and he'll laugh. What raise? Because no single purchase remembers it. That's lifestyle inflation operating exactly on schedule. The life resized within a season, the way water resizes to a glass. It felt like nothing. It seemed small. It was not. Eli did something with his 160 that stays sealed until the reveal. From the hallway, it looked like nothing. No new habit you could photograph. And that's the maddening thing about this fork. For 2, even 3 years, it produces no visible evidence. The divergence is real, growing, and completely underground. While we're underground, here's a number that lies: a 4% raise. Said out loud, it sounds like a tip. Measured against 1 year, fine, but raises don't visit, they move in. That nothing arrives again every year, stacked on the last forever. And by year 5, our 2 men aren't $70,000 employees anymore. The raises alone push past 80, and one of them changed jobs in year 3 for a $9,000 bump on top, because that's what real careers do. Want your own version? Total the gross value of your last 3 raises, the numbers you just pulled from the portal. That annual figure, whatever it is the exact fuel supply this video is about. Percentages sound like tips. Stacked, they're a second income sneaking into the building. 3 stages so you have the vocabulary. Stage 1, the twin years. Visually identical lives, the split existing only as a direction of motion. Stage 2, the quiet split. Years 3 and 4. Real money, still invisible because of where it lives. Stage 3, the visible years. After year 5, when everyone who knows them both starts using the word suddenly. Suddenly, 5 years in the making. One more thing before the reveal, because I can hear it. William, I don't get 4%. Some years I get nothing. Understood, and the variable doesn't care. It runs on any money that arrives after your life was already priced, and everyone at every income has some. Nobody's excluded from this fork. 90 seconds to the name. Here is the variable. The difference between Trent and Eli is not what they do with their salary. It's what they do with money that arrives on top of a life that already works. The marginal dollar, the raise, the job change bump, the bonus, the refund, the side check. Trent's marginal dollars are absorbed. His lifestyle tracks his income, automatically, exactly as the machine intends. Eli, in year 1, made one structural decision he never had to repeat. He froze his lifestyle at year 0 prices, not as punishment, as a default, and routed every marginal dollar from the day it first appeared into assets before he ever met it as spendable. You can't miss money you never met. Trent's raises by a larger life, Eli's raises by a second income. The lifestyle freeze plus the marginal dollar route. One sentence, 5 years of consequences. And because a concept you can't plumb is just poetry, here is the actual plumbing Eli set up in one evening. Write these down. First, the split direct deposit. Nearly every payroll portal lets you send a percentage of each paycheck to a second account before you ever see it. Eli routes his raise money there. That's the freeze, mechanized. Second, the destination order, and the order matters. The 401k match first, always. His employer matches the first 4%, which is a 100% instant return no market will ever offer you. Then a Roth IRA up to the 2026 limit of $7,500, money that grows and comes out tax-free. Then, once the Roth is full, a plain taxable brokerage account holding a broad index fund, the whole market, no picking. Third, the escalator. Most 401k plans have an auto-increase feature buried in the settings, one checkbox that raises your contribution percentage automatically every year. Eli set it to fire each March, the same week as review season, so the raise and the route meet before his lifestyle does. And his buffer, the slack that keeps the system from ever touching credit, sits in a high-yield savings account paying around 4%, not the 0.6% the average bank account still pays in 2026. That's the entire machine. One portal setting, one destination order, one checkbox, one right account. An evening of clicking, 5 years of consequences. Now the napkin at 7%, comfortably below the market's long-run average, so nobody accuses this story of leaning on hope. Year 1, $160 a month routed, $1,900. Year 2's raise stacks on a first, $4,000 a year flowing. Year 3, the job change, $9,000 gross, call it $520 a month landing, and the route jumps past $10,000 a year, while the apartment, the car, and the Thursdays stay exactly where they were. And a job change footnote that saves fortunes. When he left, he rolled his old 401k straight into the new plan, never cashed it. A startling share of Americans cash out at every job change, paying the penalty and the tax and torching the compounding for a check that never lasts. Roll it, always. By the end of year 5, Eli has routed roughly 38,000 of raises he never met, sitting at about 44,000 at 7%, with the route running north of 13,000 a year on autopilot.
And here's why the title says 5 years. Morgan Housel wrote that wealth is what you don't see, and Eli is that sentence with a lease. But invisible wealth has a threshold, and Eli crosses it in year 5, the year his portfolio's annual growth, call it $3,000 on 44 grand, outgrows his annual raise. Read that again. In year 5, Eli's money gets a bigger raise than Eli does. 2 employers pay this man now, the logistics company and the machine built out of money the first one kept adding. The second raise, without waking up, the second raise. From here, the gap widens on its own, every year, automatically. That's what 5 years from rich means, not $1 million by Friday. The year the trajectory locks. Trent, and I want to be precise, because Trent is not a cautionary cartoon. He didn't gamble, didn't finance a boat, did nothing dramatic. 5 years of absorbed raises simply became a life that costs $16,000 a year more and holds 0 working assets. A $400 a month car, modest by experience averages, the better apartment talked out of only by the hassle of moving, a month that costs his new salary to the dollar. He's not behind on anything. He's priced. Salary up $22,000, freedom up nothing. And that's the national mystery from earlier, solved. Wages rising, net worth flat, millions of resizes arriving on schedule exactly as designed. If you want your own verdict in 10 minutes, run the 90-day audit, raise letter, then the statement from 1 quarter later. The resize is either there or it isn't, and now you know its name. Let me pause, because we've stacked a lot. The variable in one breath, freeze the life once, route every marginal dollar through the split deposit and the escalator into match, Roth, then index, and around year 5, the routed money starts out-earning your raises, a second employer hired out of income you never learned to spend. From the hallway, invisible, on the napkin, unstoppable. Quick pause on the channel, too. This video exists because the 4th floor is everywhere, and the variable almost never gets named. The machine prefers it that way. If you want the honest version of money, subscribing is how you vote for it. And one favor in the comments, your last raise, where did it actually go? Not where it should have gone, where it went. Answer honestly, even if the answer is, I genuinely can't find it. I read those, and that answer is diagnostic. Now, years 3 through 5, where the fork gets expensive. Year 3 is when the split almost surfaces. Both men changed jobs that year. Trent's was $8,500, nearly identical to Eli's $9,000. Trent's arrived pre-sold, the car within a month, the apartment nearly upgraded, each choice reasonable, each one seemed small.
By year 4, his month costs his new salary to the dollar, equilibrium restored on schedule. Eli's year 3 looked from the outside like a man who forgot to celebrate. Same car with the door ding, same 4B. His coworkers ribbed him about it, and that's the real price of the freeze, and I won't pretend otherwise. For about 3 years, the variable makes you look like the guy who didn't get the memo. Stage 2 costs nothing but explanation. Then Stage 3 starts explaining for you.
The honest objections. Out loud. Raises barely beat inflation. Sometimes true, which is why the route feeds on all marginal money, and the big meals are job changes, the $8,000 to $12,000 jumps that mark real careers. Miss every 4% year, catch just the job changes, and the machine still gets built. And in the no-raise years, the escalator still fires. 1% of your existing salary auto-increased is a marginal dollar you manufacture yourself. What if I love the upgrades? Then take them with your base salary's blessing and open eyes. This channel doesn't do monk math. The trap was never the car. It's the automatic resize, the upgrade you can't remember choosing. Choose loudly or route silently. The only losing move is the quiet absorb. And the carve-out, plainly, if your income sits below your survival line, the freeze is not your assignment. Income is. And pretending a routing trick fixes an income gap is exactly the advice this channel exists to not give. If you counted your own absorbed raises during any of that, if you did the quiet arithmetic on what your last 3 bumps would be worth routed, good. Don't scroll past the sting. It arrived free, it arrived early, and yours came with the plumbing attached. Because here's the cascade. Run the 4th floor to year 10. Same modest assumptions. Eli's route is pushing past $16,000 a year. The machine crosses $170,000 and throws off $12,000 on its own. His second employer now outpays half his rent, and every future raise makes it higher faster. Around year 12, the growth alone outruns anything a March meeting will ever add, and the 2 salaries, Trent's and Eli's, are still nearly identical. Say it plainly. Identical incomes, and one man's money now employs itself. Salaries are public, trajectories are private. If you're hearing this at 45 with absorbed decades behind you, the variable doesn't card you at the door. The freeze works from wherever your life is currently priced. The route works on whatever arrives next, and the same escalator checkbox, the same match, the same Roth limit are all sitting in your portals tonight, unclicked. A 15-year runway with ordinary raises still builds a 6-figure second employer, smaller than Eli's, real all the same, infinitely larger than the version that never starts, later than you'd like, earlier than you fear. So, an ordinary Tuesday, and you want the variable installed. 3 moves, and notice they're the summary of everything you've already been handed tonight, not a new list. 1. Price your current life honestly once, the number your month actually costs. That's your freeze line. Write it down and defend it by default, not forever. 2. Build the route before the money exists. Tonight, open the payroll portal, set the split deposit, confirm you're at the full employer match, and turn on the auto escalation checkbox dated for review season, so the raise you haven't gotten yet already has an address. The discipline happens once. The machine handles every march after. 3. The piece I can't fit in 20 minutes. The destination order's deep mechanics. Why match beats Roth beats brokerage. How the index engine compounds through bad decades. What the 7% actually rides on. That's the foundation under the 4th floor. And the full breakdown is on this channel whenever you're ready. Walls are patient, so are machines. One last time. A brick building in Columbus. 2 doors, 11 feet apart. You can read the hallway now. 4A, a good man, fully priced, whose next raise is already spent by people he's never met. 4B, the same salary, the same square footage, and behind the door, invisible from the street, visible on every statement, a second employer working the night shift through a split deposit, a match, a Roth, and one checkbox that fires every March. 5 years ago, you couldn't tell them apart. Same salary, same apartment. One variable. And the next marginal dollar headed toward your life, the raise, the bump, the check that hasn't landed, is standing in that hallway right now, deciding which door it lives behind. Route it. It seemed small. It won't stay that way.